in our lead stories nationally. St. Kitts and Nevis to benefit from ECCB new insurance and pension bill and imminent general elections. Labour Party will return this year and transform St. Kitts and Nevis. Regionally, Jamaica's Prime Minister Holness and U.S. Secretary of State Pompeo rejects claims of attempts to split CARICOM. Internationally, impeachment. Democrats reject witness swap in Trump trial. And in sporting news, New Orleans Pelicans forward impress on a long-awaited NBA debut. We will have the details to these and other stories after this short break.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back and on to our national news segment. As the Caribbean region continues to strive to maintain economic stability, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is partnering with the World Bank to implement a new insurance and pension bill for St. Kitts and Nevis and the entire Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, ECCU. This new bill will provide greater financial protection and more choice for insurers and insurance and pension products for people of the ECCU. World Bank consultant assigned to this project, Michael Hafman, speaking on the January 22nd edition of ECCB Connects, explained what the bill entails.
Well, the bill is quite comprehensive. It deals with all aspects of regulating and supervising the pension and insurance sectors. And so it's covering things like the licensing of the entities that are operating in the sector and the intermediaries in the case of insurance that are selling insurance and providing service to customers. It also deals with conduct of the entities involved, the insurers and intermediaries and the pension plans, and a lot of provisions there about the solvency of the providers. So trying to make sure that the insurance companies and the pension plans that people are relying on to provide benefits are financially strong enough to do so.
He noted that this bill will also be geared towards one aspect of one financial institution here in the region.
It also deals with the Eastern Caribbean Financial Services Commission itself, which is a proposed regulatory body that would work in the region and oversee those industries. And so it talks about the powers and responsibilities of that organization and the way it's going to be funded and how they can deal with things that they might not like that they're seeing happening in the sector.
Mr. Hafman further outlined why the bill is being reformed at this time.
Now there are separate pieces of legislation in each of the territories and separate supervisory agencies in each territory as well. And when the entities that operate in the market, the insurers, the intermediaries, the pension plans, are operating and they've got business in more than one of the territories, they've got to get separately licensed and meet separate requirements in each place. And it doesn't make for a very efficient market. And so having centralized regulation and supervision is designed to help the market to operate efficiently and to grow better, provide more services to the public. Also, by consolidating the regulation and supervision in one agency, it's going to help to build the resources available to do that and enable them to do a better job of protecting the public.
That is World Bank consultant Michael Hafman. And in more national news,
I firmly believe that this year will mark a defining moment in the history of our country and, of course, the history of the world. 2020 will be no ordinary year, I want to submit. And so as we stand at the dawn of a whole new decade, I know that our beloved Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis will not be the same at 2030, considering that Labour would have returned this year and would again transform this great country of ours.
That's leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, SKNLP, Dr. the Honorable Denzel Douglas. He was speaking during the party's New Year's Gala on Friday, 3rd January 2020. Prior to the 2015 general elections, the Labour Party was at the helm of the government here in St. Kitts and Nevis for 20 years, from 1995 to 2015. The party currently has 3 out of the 11 seats, namely constituencies number 2, 3, and 6. As elections are imminent, Dr. Douglas said,
"We are at a critical decision-making point in the history of our great nation, and the choices that we make this year will set the course in the life of our nation for better or for worse."
That is leader of the SKNLP, Dr. the Honorable Denzil Douglas. The Caribbean Public Health Agency CARPA has issued a release indicating that the risk of the coronavirus in the region is low. The World Health Organization, WHO, reported as at January 9th, 2020, that a 2019 novel corona 2019 nCoV was first identified by Chinese authorities in Wuhan, Hubei province in China. Executive Director of CARPA, Dr. Joy St. John, said presently there have been no confirmed cases or reports of the 2019 nCoV in the Caribbean region, and based on current information, the immediate health risk from this virus to the general public remains low. CARPA is monitoring developments and working closely with its international health partners to respond to this health threat and provide timely advice and support to the preparedness activities of the Caribbean member states, end quote. Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that cause illness ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases such as Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, MERS-CoV, and severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS-CoV. Common signs of infection include respiratory symptoms, fever, cough, shortness of breath, and breathing difficulties. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, kidney failure, and even death. This 2019 nCoV virus is a new strain of coronavirus that has not been previously identified in humans. According to WHO, there have been more than 300 cases reported globally as at the 21st of January. However, late on the 22nd of January, the Chinese National Health Committee reported more than 571 confirmed cases of patients with pneumonia and 17 fatalities caused by the 2019 nCoV. Imported cases have been reported by other countries including Thailand, Republic of Korea, and the United States of America, the USA. Following this, and in light of the recently confirmed case of the virus in the USA, CARPA has issued advice to health authorities on measures to reduce the risk of importation of the disease to the Caribbean region, as well as advice to Caribbean travelers in the affected area in China. On Friday, 15th December 2017, former Supervisor of Elections Ringrose George was arrested and charged with 2 felony counts of misconduct in public office. He was granted bail for $50,000, set at $25,000 on each count with 2 sureties. His bail conditions included the surrender of all travel documents. Those charges stemmed from Mr. George's behavior surrounding the general elections of Monday, 16 February 2015, when he unexplainably halted the voting count and did not declare the results of the election until 2 days after. Fast forward 5 years later, St. Kitts and Nevis is gearing up for a next general election, this time under the umbrella of the Team Unity government with Mr. Elvin Bailey as the Supervisor of Elections. A reoccurrence of the events 5 years ago, you say? How are things progressing for the highly anticipated elections? Will the elections be free and fair and void of irregularities? Deputy Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Sean Richards, expressed to the VOA Newsline confidence in the current Supervisor of Elections to do what is right.
You put policies in the air and you expect the best coming from persons, but persons will do things otherwise. We can only hope that those persons who have been entrusted with the electoral system here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, that they will not repeat the same mistakes which were done in the past. I do believe that in terms of the current supervisor of elections, and if my memory serves me correctly, he would have worked as the supervisor during the last election held in Nevis, that is the Nevis Island Administration election, and he did an excellent job, and one would expect him to continue to work in that particular vein.
On the other side of the table, Deputy Leader of the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party, the Honourable Marcella Liburd, who is part of the administration that was in power at the time of the last general election, when they were accused of not properly handling the election, is skeptical about the election process being free and fair.
That would certainly be the biggest joke, because interestingly, the thing they accuse George of is withholding the election results. They didn't announce the election results. How they get in power? How they get in power? How they know who win? If it is that he was withholding the election results, and if the elections weren't free and fair, how the government changed? But what we have now is a government who put in a manifesto that the electoral office will now become politically independent. It has been the most political ever. And the gentleman from Nevis, who is now the supervisor of election, is the most political supervisor of election in my lifetime I could ever recall.
He further went on to outline two of the issues that the opposition is experiencing as we draw closer to the elections.
Objection hearing, he going to give out notice, like he is the postman, personally going to people and giving them notice. He got up in the objection hearing, and when the objector was not there, he going on like he's the objector, which is illegal. If somebody object to your name, that person has to show up at the objection hearing to say why they object to your name. So if the person is show up, the supervisor of elections go in and garner that he's the objector and carry on the matter in there, I had to go in there and make a lot of noise to stop it and to ensure that that doesn't go on. He's taking off people's name off the list without due process. How fair is that?
That is the Honourable Marcella Liburd. Other issues the opposition deputy leader noted that they are experiencing were that they have not received a report since May 2019 about election objection of names and that appeals with regards to these objections are yet to be heard despite persons appealing within the prescribed period. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, took part in roundtable discussions with the United States Secretary of State, Mr. Mike Pompeo, and other officials on Wednesday, 22nd January 2020. The meeting was held in New Kingston, Jamaica, at the Pegasus Hotel. Mr. Brantley spoke of de-risking and blacklisting of and said, "It is a grave and present danger to our economies. For example, the cruise industry, which is largely dominated by U.S. players, is at risk if the Caribbean region is not able to do banking." He also spoke of some amelioration for middle-income or high-income countries and said that regarding Bahamas, Haiti, etc., the Caribbean feels that the international community has not responded in a positive way. Finally, in our national news segment, management, staff, and participants at the Skills Training Empowerment Program STEP are mourning the death of Director Mr. Wendell Watley. Mr. Watley passed on Monday, 20th January 2020. Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for STEP, Mr. Osbert D'Souza, expressed his condolences and said, and I quote, "On behalf of the management and workers at the STEP office and the workers on STEP in general, I would like to express my deepest sympathy to the wife and family of Mr. Wendell Watley, who worked at the STEP office as the director for a period of time," end quote. Mr. Watley, who had a long career in the teaching profession and worked at the General Post Office, joined the Skills Training Empowerment Program as its director on August 1st, 2017. STEP's Quality Assurance Coordinator Consultant, Mr. Emil Green, who is acting as the STEP Director, has on behalf of the entire office, management and staff, STEP participants and trainees, and employers also expressed his sympathies to the family of the late Wendell Watley. That concludes our national news segment. You can visit our website at www.varnradio.com, or you can visit our social media page on Facebook and our YouTube channel, also at Van Radio, for these and other stories. News from across the region comes up next.
At the Bank of Nevis, we know you have your personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions that make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Gold Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our Online internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Bank of Nevis.
Welcome back and on to our regional news segment. In news out of Jamaica, Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness and United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo have both denied that the decision to invite select CARICOM states to a meeting in Kingston on Wednesday is an attempt to split the regional grouping. There is no intent for the United States to divide CARICOM. Not yesterday, not today, not tomorrow, Pompeo told journalists at a joint media briefing with Holness at the office of the Prime Minister in Kingston this morning, according to the Jamaica Observer. Critics of the meeting have charged that Pompeo, as part of the agenda of Donald Trump administration, is trying to divide CARICOM into states which line up behind the U.S. and Venezuela, and on the next Secretary General of the Organization of American States, OAS, on one side, and the states which are refusing to toe the American line on the other side. However, many CARICOM states still recognize Maduro as the legitimate president of the Bolivarian Republic, while supporting Ecuadorian diplomat Maria Fernanda Espinosa for the top job at OAS. According to the U.S. Secretary of State, the Trump administration welcomes dialogue with all members of CARICOM as it is convinced that there are common interests. And in news out of Trinidad, the Trinidad and Tobago government on Tuesday said that it would be implementing thermal screening at the airports there as the island responded to a call by the Pan-American Health Organization, PAHO, WHO, to strengthen surveillance activities to detect any unusual respiratory health event as the number of people infected with the new virus in China increased significantly. Health Minister Terence Dialsing, speaking on a radio station there, said that health authorities would be even more vigilant with the captains of aircraft, where they will have to fill out forms stating that no passengers are ill, no passengers have fevers, nationnews.com says. PAHO, WHO, has issued an alert to its member countries on the novel coronavirus, NCOV, recommending that healthcare workers have access to up-to-date information on the illness, be familiar with the principles and procedures for handling NCOV infections, and be trained to inquire about a patient's travel history in order to connect this information with clinical data. Meanwhile, Barbadians have been told that the new strain of coronavirus, which is responsible for around 17 deaths in Wuhan, China, and resulted in a quarantine of the entire city, is no immediate threat to the island. The virus has now spread to Japan, Korea, Thailand, and a case has also been identified in Washington, United States. In a media briefing yesterday, both Minister of Health Jeffrey Bostic and Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George urged the public to remain calm. Finally, in our regional news segment, in news out of the Cayman Islands, lawyers acting for a same-sex couple contesting Cayman's marriage laws have confirmed plans to take their fight to the UK Privy Council. Chantal Day and Vicky Boden-Bush won their initial court fight to be granted the right to marry in the islands, but that decision was overturned by the Court of Appeal, which ruled the Cayman's constitution preserved marriage for opposite-sex couples only. The appeals court ruled that government was obligated to provide the couple and all same-sex couples with rights equivalent to marriage and instructed government to introduce legislation to that effect. Attorney General Samuel Bulgin indicated last week that legislation for civil partners is being drafted. That concludes our regional news segment. International news comes up next as the VOL Major News Package continues. Welcome back and on to our international news segment. U.S. Democrats have ruled out a witness swap with Republicans in President Donald Trump's impeachment trial. Lawmakers who are seeking to remove the president from office hope to hear testimony from his former national security advisor, John Bolton. However, Democrats refuse any deal to allow the son of former U.S. Vice President Joe Biden to be called as a witness. Mr. Trump is accused of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. He strongly denies any wrongdoing. House Democrats have up to 3 days to make their case as they present their arguments in the impeachment trial in the Senate. Mr. Trump's defense team will have 3 days after that for a rebuttal. The impeachment trial could end next week, but Mr. Trump's fellow Republicans control the chamber and are unlikely to oust him. And a second Chinese city will go into lockdown in an effort to control the spread of a new virus that has left 17 dead in the country. Authorities have suspended planes and trains in and out of Wuhan, a city of 11 million people, as well as public transport within the city. Similar measures will take effect in nearby Wuhanhang, a city of more than 7 million, as of midnight. There are more than 500 confirmed cases of the virus, which has spread abroad. More from the BBC's Michael Bristow.
Huanggang and Ezhou, with a combined population of 8.5 million, had to suspend transport operations. People have been told not to leave. Places of entertainment are being closed. Both cities are near Wuhan, where the virus originated, in a market selling live animals for food. Wuhan's mayor has admitted that officials were too slow to recognize the danger of the virus and how fast it might spread. The World Health Organization has now begun a second day of talks about the unfolding health crisis in China.
That concludes our international news segment. The latest sporting news comes up next.
TDC Business Center and City Drugstore Nevis, your one-stop shop for all your school supply needs. Get bundle savings on backpack and computer packages, but save 20% off all back-to-school materials and printers. Back-to-school shopping is made easy at TDC Business Center and City Drugstore Nevis. See stores for details.
Welcome back on to our sporting news segment. In basketball news, Zion Williamson impressed on his long-awaited NBA debut, but his 17 straight fourth-quarter points were not enough to earn the New Orleans Pelicans' victory against the San Antonio Spurs. The 19-year-old was the number 1 pick in last year's draft, but missed his first 44 games with a knee injury. The Pelicans were leading by 1 when forward Williamson was substituted and eventually lost 121 to 117. It was everything I dreamed of, except for the losing part, he said. Williamson started slowly but came alive in the fourth quarter. He went on to score all 4 of his 3-point shots in the game and became the first NBA player, that is the first player in NBA history, to achieve this feat on debut. And in more basketball news, here are the scores from last evening's game. Thunder beat Magic 120 to 114. Raptors beat 76ers 107 to 95. Pistons defeated the Kings 127 to 106. Hawks beat the Clippers by 17 points 102 to 95. Heat beat the Wizards 134 to 129. Lakers beat the Knicks 100 to 92. Celtics beat the Grizzlies 119 to 95. Bulls defeated the Timberwolves 117 to 110. Rockets beat the Nuggets 121 to 105. Pacers defeated the Suns by a 25-point margin 112 to 87, and Jazz beat the Warriors 192 to 96. And in some cricket news, opening batsman Shikhar Dhawan has been ruled out of the upcoming T20 internationals and ODI series against New Zealand. Dhawan suffered a fall and hurt his left shoulder while trying to stop a ball during the third Peyton ODIs against Australia in Belgarool on Sunday, 19th January. An MRI of his shoulder was conducted and the results have confirmed a grade 2 injury of his acromioclavicular joint. His hand will be in a sling and he has been advised to rest for some time. And in more cricket news, Afghanistan and Pakistan will both compete in the ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup Super League after maintaining their perfect group stage records in South Africa. Pakistan's victory over Zimbabwe means both they and Bangladesh will progress from Group C with a game to spare, while Afghanistan lead the way in Group D after they win over the United Arab Emirates. South Africa's victory over Canada means the final group game between the host nation and UAE will see the winner join Afghanistan in the Super League. The most dramatic game of the day came in Group A, however, with New Zealand putting themselves up on the cusp of qualification after a 6 from the penultimate ball helped them defeat the now eliminated Sri Lanka. And that's the latest sports. The weather forecast is next. And to a night mostly cloudy mixed with periods of showers and light rain and a slight chance of thunderstorms. The winds will be south with speeds ranging between 13 to 28 kilometers per hour or 7 to 15 knots, becoming light and variable tonight. Seas not exceeding 1.5 meters or 5 feet. Sunrise for tomorrow will be at 6:44 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Thursday the 23rd day of January 2020. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis to benefit from ECCB new insurance and pension bill, and imminent general elections. Labour Party will return this year and transform St. Kitts and Nevis. Regionally, Jamaica's Prime Minister Holness and U.S. Secretary of State Pompeo reject claims of attempts to split CARICOM. Internationally, impeachment. Democrats reject witness swap in Trump trial. And in sports, New Orleans Pelicans forward impresses on long-awaited NBA debut. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Marvin Ross, and I'm wishing you a pleasant evening.